Still not live, and we are live, Mario. One, two, three, four. We are live, guys. Okay, Mario, we're gathered here to talk about the extension of basal metabolic rate, also bioelectric impedance analysis. We're here with my awesome co-host, Marius Ruja, Dr. Marius Ruja, and we're going to be discussing a bit about the types of BIAs that are out there. The BIAs that are in the arena are going to be able to be seen here, and we're going to discuss those things and go over those particular subject matters and kind of tell you what's out there so that we can kind of at least bring it to you guys as for what we do in El Paso and how we do it and what our approach is. Now, Mario's got some really good ideas, and I want to bring him in right now. So as we look at this, Mario, when you ask an assessment of patients, and when you look at someone's BIA or BMI, what kind of things are you looking to assist in and to guide the patient with?
On the first point that you mentioned, Alex, I have to be honest with you. People are afraid of BMI. Okay, it just sounds frightening, you know. Just to be real today, most people, I would venture to say, have no concept of what BMI is. Okay, now they know what they weigh. You know, they get on a scale and they go, "Oh, I'm 40 pounds overweight. I'm 100 pounds overweight." But BMI is really where the tire hits the pavement. This is where we get the real information, the data that gives us the opportunity to, to get very, very specific in terms of where we are in terms of our metabolic rate. Okay.
Yeah.
And so just getting on a scale anymore is not good enough. Yeah. So when I speak to clients and also when I speak to a lot of athletes, the latest information now is not just how much you weigh. It has to deal with a higher level of understanding of where are your dynamics, where are your stats. And stats is not just how fast you run. Stats is how is your body, what's the positioning that you're in. So then you can be very specific in terms of your goals. Whether you're an athlete or you're just there for health, which that's the number one sports for us is our life health. I think it's very critical. So BMI and BIM are now, we would like to, you and I, educate our viewers and everyone to ask for and to utilize them daily. And there's some really cool things out there that they can use right off the shelf. And there's some very high-end products that they will find in clinical environments and at our offices where they can get very, very specific as to where they are in terms of their base metabolic rate and their even, I mean, we can go later on in the show as to their water, lean muscle mass, their levels of hydration, which is very important. So that's where I would say we can begin today. Let's look at, first of all, how is BMI measured and what does it really tell us?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only that, what we've looked at when a patient comes to our offices, they want an easy way of doing this. We've gotten technologies that can do it simple. It can do it really fast. We come from an era where in the 80s and we even in the 70s we used simplistic methods like pinch methods or posterior arm, posterior lat, posterior abdomen area, thigh measurements, and we come up with some pretty inaccurate places, but relatively, as we've indicated, those inaccurate methods were really accurate, but they were inaccurate. So they were reasonably inaccurately accurate, if that could make sense.
Yeah,
right?
They were good enough for the times, right?
Right, exactly. So what we want to bring in is what we do in our office, and we will compare and contrast those things. And there's very specific reasons we want to be able to do that. Now, the analysis that we take is very quantifiable, very, very high research methods that can determine the BIAs. The BMI is an old method. It's cool. It's useful. When we look at a BMI in that situation, Mario, you can see right there that a BMI below 18.5 is, underweight considered. We look at values that are healthy, overweight. Relatively, these numbers are meaningless if we compare, a lot of people to a lot of people, but they have some generalities, and you can see the range is huge, 18.25 to 24.9. What does that mean? It means that we have an area and a region that is comfortable to a lot of individuals. So when we look at this, we could see that we've noticed, Mario, with certain individuals, it doesn't make sense. You've mentioned in the past dynamics where an individual can be balanced and look normal, but they could be buff. What have you noticed in that?
Yeah, I mean, especially in the athletic world, you can have a terrible BMI and be actually in top shape. And the problem that occurs to that, Alex, is that the measurement of BMI is very simple. It is the weight divided by 2 times your height.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So what happens is if you have a lot of muscle mass, which has a higher weight ratio than fat, you're actually going to be categorized as obese.
So you mean like let's say that we've seen this in muscle mass individuals and like real powerhouse individuals that could, let's say, a buff individual that's short.
Football players, even some wrestlers. People who are lifting heavy weights, people who are very much into strength, and as opposed to what I call passive weight, or average. And this is where the problem occurs, that we have to be mindful that just because you are over a BMI of 25, that doesn't mean that you are obese. So you have to take the history into the person. We have to look at the person, individual. We can't just throw numbers out there.
Right.
And a lot of times, we just throw numbers, just like, well, this is your profile, and it's wrong. No, does it pertain to you? And so for BMI, especially for someone who lifts heavy weights, is into a lot of bodybuilding, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So it doesn't work at all.
No, because one of the things that we look at is as a person gets into a sport, let's say they're a hockey player or they're even a football player, certain positions like an offensive tackle is a tall, individual, large individual, a tight end versus someone like a center. Though they may be healthy in all capacities, their BMIs might be totally different. That's why we do the BIAs. The BIAs offer a lot more bioimpedance assessment tests, a much more clinical assessment and true assessment of their values to determine their health. And then, again, there's a range, and once you work from that range, and once you know your ranges, then you can adjust your body as you go through seasons. So here we're looking at a type of a piece of equipment here that we use, and a lot of times they would be kind of analytical, and you can tell that it's a little strip of information. It's probably very good. It's clinically portable. It doesn't require a lot, but you can see that the information doesn't become visual, and that's what we are. We're very visual. How does this affect someone, Mario, like a mom, a 26-year-old mom who's got a 13-year-old son? And that's pretty bad. Actually.
Yeah, let's use another example, Alex.
Well, 26-year-old mom and a 5-year-old little boy. Okay, we were a little crazy there.
A lot of impedance.
A lot of eyebrows there. But one of the things is that we have to be able to quantify the development of a child as they hit their teens all the way through their early 20s, because those are very important periods of times when we can actually assess their growth and see. And if we go the wrong way, whether they're clinically too lean or too obese in that sense, we need to be able to do something that can measure the changes in between. So here's what we have, these assessments. Now, have you done, how often do you do these on athletes, Mario?
With, I'll say this, with BIA, a lot of the assessments that are done are for high-end athletes, and a lot of times when I go to Phoenix and out of the city for these specifics, it is critical, and I see a lot of them. They already have their body measurements. As a matter of fact, they already know them. Like high-end athletes know their numbers.
Yes.
They know exactly. I mean, they have them memorized. They monitor themselves. When you're at that level, it's like a student. You know, if you're a student that's looking for a scholarship, you know your GPA.
Yeah,
no one has to ask you, well, let me see. No, that means you're not in the game.
Yeah.
So you know your stats. And especially when you're talking about BIA, which over here you're talking about, the level of impedance. This is what's nice about the BIA is you're looking at impedance that is increased with fat, with body fat.
Right.
So now it doesn't take into consideration the other variables, and it's just straight impedance, which I think to some extent this is better than the BMI because it doesn't have that variable when it comes to weight.
Yeah.
So we're not looking at a weight to height ratio. We're actually looking at straight impedance.
Straight through, yeah.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm,
and I love that. That to me, when I look at data, that is something that I can put my hat on.
Yes.
and say, you know what, this one we can work with. The other one, there's too much variable. So I would go with a BIA
Yes.
between the two. So if you were to choose, and out there, again, for young athletes, even high school athletes, which now the ratio of performance level has increased tremendously, Alex. You know that.
Yes.
I mean, now they're being recruited straight out of high school. They're looking at freshmen, sophomore, and juniors are being looked at nationally.
Yeah.
They're being graded. So now we need to be a little more specific, a little more mindful, and have the right data. If you don't have the right instrumentation, again, you're not going to have the right outcome.
Right.
Again, what I mentioned to the athletes that I work with, the more specific you are in your goals, the more specific you are in your measurements, the more specific you are in terms of your performance. So those to me are critical, and that's why I really like the BIA ratio. Again, it gets to the point, and you can see that looking at some of the articles that we have for everyone. It's nice. Now, the other one, Alex, that I would like to kind of bring out. Why don't we look at some of the other
the equipments?
Equipments, which I think are really cool.
Yeah.
One is like crazy. I mean, one looks like Star Wars here. Like the body pod. This one is research based. I can tell you right now, there's not going to be a lot of clinics and a lot of places where they're going to spend $40,000 just to get that body measurement. But it is crazy. It's beautiful. It deals with air displacement, which is, again, very high end. And you remember the old calipers. I remember that in high school, and even going through a lot. I mean, gosh, just recently, some of us are still using the calipers.
Yes.
I've seen some trainers and all of that. They're still using body calipers, which are okay. But again, if we have better, let's do better, right?
Exactly. One of the things that I've noticed here is that the body pod, particularly this particular body pod that we were talking about, it measures the oxygen expenditure. The BMIs, along with BIAs, the BIAs that are this complex, they use research methods to quantify the amount of oxygen debt or the amount of oxygen usage. That's the most accurate way to determine the amount of energy expenditure. But that does require a lot of containment. And typically, you see here, the accurate way to do is put a mask on, but you can see that they're trying to get the person to relax. So because one of the things that measures is heart rate too at the same time. So with the person in a relaxed environment and not with the mask on to measure the oxygen, it does make it easy to operate. But again, you can see the price prohibitiveness of this, and it doesn't work. And it's in the sense of in a clinical setting of a doctor's office. It works great in a research center, but it doesn't do as well.
And Alex, I mean, let's get real. I mean, I don't know if I want to be in that pod, man. I mean, I feel like I'm about to get launched. You know what I'm saying? You know, funny. It's like, I don't know. I mean, you know, I mean, most of the people out there have issues going through an MRI, much less a pod.
Yes,
I mean,
exactly.
You know, so yeah, a little claustrophobic, I would say. You know, I mean, she has a nice smile on her face. You know, you can see that, but my God, I mean, yeah, it's great for research, but you know what? Let's move on. What's the next real one? How about that?
The next real ones, what we're going to do is we're going to be discussing a little bit more about the things that we use inside the clinical experience. There's, where we live in El Paso, so there's a lot of clinical institutions such as UTEP, UMC, the Texas Tech Centers.
Yes.
They do have some of these, but not the ones we're going to be showing. And specifically, they have a spattering of this type of equipment. So what we want to do is understand what we have available in Paso, and in our particular offices, what we have going on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start teaching a little bit about this, and we want you to understand that our goal here is to see the types of equipment we can use and the abilities that we have. Now, we're looking at one particular piece of equipment that we're using here is called the Inbody. Inbody is one of the frontier companies that uses the BIAs. They assess it. And I know, Mario, you've had some work in this one. Have you learned some variations between this one and the other more larger, more intense models? But one of the things that this one has is the ability to give you a print-up report. So when you look at this particular model and you see the print-up report, you can actually determine a little bit of information. So take a look at that information, Mario, and tell me what it is that you describe to your patients. Well,
one thing that I like about it is, number one, it's portable. Number two, it gives you a visual. You know, people like to take a visual piece of paper with them so they can have some goals. And I love the fact that it gets right down to the specific. You can see the BMI there. It's 24, so he's right at. You see that area right there. He's right at the edge of being overweight. And then the body fat mass, that one is really important right there. You see the 48.7. So overall, if you were to look at the dynamics of this going back, it's good. I mean, this is a nice basic thing. Number one, it takes 15 seconds. You have a history of your profile, which is great. So it keeps. So if you do this test 3 or 4 times a year, you can see the progression, and it gives you something very simple. What's your lean mass? Which that's what most people are looking for. So up top, you see there the body fat mass, 22 pounds. I want to just kind of get this blown up a little bit so you can see it. You know, really, really important. Body fat mass, 22 pounds. Lean body mass, 8.4, okay? And then you're looking at basal metabolic rate and lean body mass, 81 pounds. So those are things that, to me, I want to know. And how do I use that? Again, how do I use that to make my workouts? You know, everyone's working out. How do I use that to give me some markers and give me the feedback to see, am I working in the right ratio? Am I working out at the right heart rate? Sometimes we're over our target heart rate, and we should slow down. And some of us should actually increase, because why? You're walking in the park for 10 hours at a pace where it's not doing anyone any good.
Right.
So that's where it comes down.
Let me point out something that I noticed here, that what we can see here is that you have a BMR, okay, that is an accurate BMR. Now, the BMR that we're looking at here is one that says it's 1,168 calories. You can see that number there, okay? Now, that's basically enough to keep you alive for the exact amount of time for the day. Now, the BMR that we were looking at, let me show this, Mario, right here. The BMR we were looking at initially when we looked at these particular studies, you can actually see that they're ranged, okay? So when you look at these numbers, you can see the range, but they're based on height and BMR is designed by height and basically the weight. But if we're going to get into very accurate numbers, then what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to see exactly what this number represents here. When we see a number like this is now calculated with a lot of muscle mass density, right? So right now, the ability to do a BIA test or a basal and bioelectric impedance assessment, we can actually see exactly what is actually accurate for that particular individual. So these tests offer...
And here's Alex, right here's the there it is right there, the BMI 24.0, which is like right at the edge.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's this accuracy is what gives the athlete or the individual the ability. Now, Mario, you and I, what we do is we deal with athletes that have the ability to go up and down on and off seasons, right?
Right.
So what they do is that many times they drop weight in certain competitions, or they don't have enough body mass, and they can see what's happening. This way, you can actually see the difference as time goes on, because as you can see down on this particular study here, when you assess this, you can actually see that we use the study over a period of time, okay? So you can see that this date, things are changing, and pretty much here we're measuring the individual almost once a month. At that point, 30 days is what we like to do things with as well, and that's pretty much the standard. And you can see the change happening with the individual at the time, right? So this is one of the first. We do have another model that gives a little bit of a difference, and we'd like to share that one with you. The 570 model is a different type of model, but you'll notice down here that it also checks out body mass, lean body, body water, and body fat. But this body water starts becoming an important factor, okay? When we look at these things, Mario, why don't you go over that a little bit here, because I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit so you can see it here. Go ahead.
Yeah, the importance now, you're looking at hydration, you know? So you're looking at hydration. So is that person hydrating at a right ratio? And especially, you know, overall, when you're talking about like the body fat mass, you see it right here. There it is right there. And it's 66.8. That's an important measurement there. And that's where we're looking at specifically for athletes, and even all of us, you know, parents, the people that are interested in health. We want to lower that number there, specifically with a track record. And like you mentioned here, when you're looking at the overall scan, you don't want to look at one event. And this is where people, you know, they live off of one event.
Mario, why? And why is it that? Why?
And it's like they just worry about, you know, oh, it's June, July, and now I want to look good. Well, let's not just take one event. And people think this way, Alex. They think in terms of seasons. Like, oh, right now I just want to look good. Why don't we have a periodicity, a fluctuation, a little fluctuation?
Yes.
But let's not go from gaining 20, 30 pounds to wanting to lose 20, 30 pounds, because that statistics and also scientifically has been shown that is more traumatic than just having a weight.
Right, exactly.
And this is real nice because you get to see the whole scan over the whole year, and now you're looking at the water, the hydration. And then what I like about this is really cool. I like this. You're looking at each area. So you're looking at right arm, left arm, your trunk, right leg, left leg. This is like amazing. So it breaks apart each area, and you're looking, and I love this one. This is the kicker right here, baby. Visceral fat. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one right there. That is the kicker. You know, that visceral fat, is the, there it is. Here, I think I've circled that as a star, okay? That is the one that will kick your rear end all day long, okay? So you can look great, and if your belt is overshadowed by your belly, I don't care how big your biceps are, baby, and I don't care how big your quads are. You could be Quadzilla for all that cares. You're going down because that visceral fat is the one that is going to destroy your whole health.
Yes, yes.
That's the one.
Now, one of the things, Mario, that I was looking at another thing.
And you see, hold on. Let's see it. Hold on. Whoa. Do you see this? Here's the trunk right here. Here's the trunk. There's that visceral fat. 58. You see that? That's the one. That's beast right there. That's super high right there. And this is where, again, we want to get real. Let's get real today. Let's talk about visceral fat, guys. You know? Yeah, get off the scale and let's get real. Okay? Because that scale's not going to tell you what the visceral fat is, it, Alex?
No, it isn't.
Nope.
No, it isn't.
Nope.
Let's go over here. We're going to go ahead and move over to one more assessment that we have here. We're going to talk about the other particular test that we have here on this particular one. And we have the Inbody 770 model here that you can actually see.
Oh, this is a Bugatti, baby.
That's the nice one.
Yeah.
So what we're looking at here, let me make it a little bit smaller so we can all read that. A little bit smaller, just a tad bit smaller. Right. Okay. But you can see that there's a little bit of difference on this test. Okay. This test offers a little bit more elaboration. Not only that, a segmental analysis, the body composition, but it does consider some other visceral fats, the metabolic rates, and it includes other areas, so impedance, and also this new number right down here called the phase angle. Okay. This phase angle is a new or a recent development in research. It can actually determine the health between the inter and extracellular activity. So if the body is functioning at a certain component, one of the things we see is a healthier phase angle. But here's the more important. It's the total consumption of the statistics. So you can see how your body is improving in general in terms of these body changes. Now, one of the things I like about it is that it acts like a quick reference point. How's your phase angle? Are you healthy? Are you not? Are you improving? Is your body decaying? Is it cellularly active the way it should be? And for me, it's a cool little tool. When you use this particular aspect, how do you like it, Mario?
You know what? Let's go back to this one. I want to go to this one because this one's like, where's that? Do we have one with the phase angle, Alex?
Yes, we do. Right.
Okay. Where is it?
Right there.
Where is it?
Hold on. I think we have.
Yeah, that's it. Right there. Ooh, yes. I like that. There it is. Yeah. So this is the phase angle. So it's very simple. This to me, like let's break it down into common language. The lower the angle, okay, the slower your metabolism. Okay, exactly. That's what it means to me. So here it is. Here's the angle here. Now, an angle like this, that means you're watching a lot of TV and playing a lot of games. Gamer. Now, this angle here, yeah, that is
cellular health.
That's it. We're happy.
Yep.
Big happy right there. So I love this thing because the correlation. Now, again, this is intracellular body cell mass. This is very high-end conversation. And that's why when you look back into the 770, Alex, that is very unique and very powerful because now you're looking at how the engine is working. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like not just where you are, but are you productive? Are you burning? Are you burning all 8 cylinders? Or are you only using 4 out of 8? So this is where I would say to me, efficiency is a term that I want to talk about, how efficient you are.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you, when we do this, it really gives us an insight, and patients really enjoy this because one of the things they can see is they can see their changes, and the phase angle is exciting because it's a lot of cellular change that occurs in the body in order to see a phase angle alteration. So once a person is working for months and you can see it go from 7.2 to 7.1 to 7.0, you feel like you're improving and your body is really electrostatically active. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this up to attention, and we're going to have specific courses and classes to discuss exactly phase angle and what phase angle means for El Paso.
Absolutely.
So I look forward to teaching this stuff with you, Mario. I know we're going to come back tomorrow. We're going to do some more stuff. We'll keep on kicking some butt so that we can make it happen. I know you've got some good concepts as to how you generally look at life like this.
Yeah.
What kind of things have you thought about?
You know what? I like to end on a positive note because all this body fat and body mass is getting me down, Alex. I got you. Can we? I want to end on this, and this is what I want to share with our listeners and viewers. That's awesome. And again, motivation. You've got to think higher to jump higher. And what I always tell people is we are limited by our beliefs and our thoughts. So now this is where we can talk about it. Here it is. Quote for the day: transformation is when who you are is not determined anymore by other people's opinions or other people's presence. So at the end of the day, it's all about transformation, baby.
That's what I'm talking about.
Jump on board.
We're gonna,
and tag it in.
We're going to leave it at that today. And thank you, Mario, for giving us the deep concepts and the true meaning of why we're doing what we're doing. We look forward to hooking it up tomorrow, and we'll be back. Talk soon. Bye-bye.
Was that okay?